To help fight domestic violence and other crimes, researchers need access to strong, dependable crime data, including the kind Newsy has learned the FBI is going to stop collecting from an estimated 1 in 4 police agencies nationally.
It's a devastating blow to effective public policy.
Josh Sugarman runs the Violence Policy Center, which studies gun violence. For more than a decade, he's used the FBI's National Uniform Crime Report to track hotspots in crime, like the murders of women by men.
Streets shut down, police on scene, and a double shooting investigation underway.
It's a problem that's become all the more urgent with the pandemic and potential victims stuck inside with abusers.
In June of 2019, we had 9 homicides related to domestic violence. In June of 2020, we had 17.
Sugarman says calling out the worst performing states year after year has led to important reforms.
The result has ranged from spurring a Pulitzer Prize winning series down South Carolina to passing laws in other states based on the findings of our work to statewide review boards.
But Newsy has learned the FBI is about to stop collecting that and other data from thousands of the nation's police agencies.
I can't stress enough the impact that this will have, across the board. They're taking an essential tool, not just in understanding lethal violence, but in preventing it.
So what happened? The FBI has been trying for decades to move more than 16,000 of the nation's law enforcement agencies over to its newest version of the Uniform Crime Report, NIBRS.
NIBRS isn't just about names and numbers. It gives us a picture of the circumstances and who the victims are.
For years, many agencies resisted the change to the more detailed crime disclosures that NIBRS requires. In 2015, the FBI set a final deadline, January 1st, 2021.
The time to think about NIBRS was yesterday. The time to move to NIBRS is today.
But now with January fast approaching, the FBI acknowledges many agencies will likely fail to meet the deadline. Once it passes, the Bureau will stop collecting specific crime data from those agencies, and instead, it's partnering with the Bureau of Justice Statistics to create national estimates to account for what they will lose. BJS says we're forecasting that the estimates will cover approximately 25% of the law enforcement agencies in the U.S. Researchers say losing crime data from any sizable number of police agencies will create an information gap at the local level for an unknown period of time, making it harder for you to put your own community's crime risk into context with other cities and states on issues ranging from racial justice to how many police officers are assaulted.
It's certainly not adequate for reliable criminological research, but I don't think it's adequate for the general public either.
Dr. Richard Rosenfeld is the past president of the American Society of Criminology. He used detailed FBI data about homicides that will also go away for non-NIBRS agencies to make a discovery that could help communities experiencing a rise in domestic violence.
Cities that provided more in the way of domestic violence resources, domestic violence hotlines, domestic violence shelters, domestic violence legal assistance. We saw a decline in domestic violence incidents. Interestingly, that decline was primarily a decline in the killing of men by women, not, as one might think, in the killing of women by men. What we reasoned is that those resources provided a way for women to escape abusive partners without having to kill their way out of the relationship.
But Rosenfeld says the city-by-city comparisons that underpinned his research won't be possible with just national estimates. And the FBI tells Newsy it will not make state or local estimates.
We don't simply need that national level figure. I think there would be a great loss by doing away with those subnational data, which are so very important, both for criminological research, but I would argue for public policy purposes.
So who won't make the deadline? The FBI won't say. So Newsy reached out to the 50 largest agencies. San Francisco, Phoenix, and others say they won't, while many, including New York City, wouldn't say when they'll be ready.
We have to be able to compare your community with other communities. It'll be a tremendous loss.
Mark Greenblatt, Newsy, outside Washington, D.C.